Acha, so the problem was ft equal to, ft equal to 1 for mod t less equal to 1 and 0 otherwise. That means for mod t greater than 1, the function value is 0. And for mod t less equal to 1, the function value is 1. The thing is what? Mod t less equal to 1 means minus 1 less equal to t less equal to 1. Mod t less equal to 1 means minus 1 less equal to t less equal to 1. The right hand side is quite obvious. T less equal to 1 is quite obvious. Now look at the left hand side. Left hand inequality. T greater equal to minus 1. That means what? Minus t less equal to 1. Minus t less equal to 1. Isn't it? So in that case, mod t, if t is greater equal to minus 1, that is minus t less equal to 1. That means mod t is less equal to 1. তো যার জন্য আমি আগের বার বলছিলাম কয়েকটা স্পেসিফিক, যদি এমনি বুঝতে অসুবিধা হয় কতগুলো স্পেসিফিক ভ্যালু নিয়ে ধরে দেখতে পারো, বাট এটা মাথায় রাখবে, এটা করে করে তো আমাদের পক্ষে দেখা সম্ভব না। Whenever mod t is less equal to 1, that means minus 1 less equal to t less equal to 1. You have to remember it. Mod t less equal to 1, that means minus 1 less equal to t less equal to 1. T lies between minus 1 and plus 1. Is that clear?
তাহলে ওই একটা ফাংশনই থাকবে -1 to +1।
হ্যাঁ, -1 to +1 ই থাকবে, বাকি 0 হয়ে যাবে। So our integration Fourier transform is given by Fourier transform of f of t is minus infinity to plus infinity ft into e to the power ist dt, and the range will be, since for mod t less equal to 1, the function is 1 and otherwise 0. That means we will break the range minus infinity to plus infinity into 3 parts. One is from minus infinity to minus 1 and less than minus 1, plus minus 1 to plus 1, plus 1 to infinity. The range, originally the range was from minus infinity to plus infinity. We are breaking it into 3 parts. One is from minus infinity to minus 1. Second one is from minus 1 to plus 1. Third one is from minus 1 to infinity. Plus 1 to infinity. Now in the first range, that is from minus infinity to minus 1. এই রেঞ্জটা কি বোঝাচ্ছে? এই রেঞ্জটা t is less than minus 1. This range is t is less than minus 1. And if t is less than minus 1, in that case, the functional value is 0. Here, the functional value is 0. T less than minus 1 means functional value is 0. Just a minute. T less than minus 1 means the functional value is 0. Similarly, if we consider the third range is what? T is lying between 1 and infinity to 3 greater than 1. T is greater than 1. 1 to infinity means t is greater than 1. T greater than 1, the function value is 0. So we will be left with only the second part. That is what? T lying between minus 1 and plus 1. Here the functional value is your 1. Mod t less equal to 1 means t lying between minus 1 and plus 1. The function value is 1. So this is your 1 into e to the power ist. Integration will be e to the power ist integration is what? E to the power ist integration
1 by is into e to the power ist.
Acha, 1 by is into e to the power ist. E to the power ist divided by is. The range is from minus 1 to plus 1. So if you put plus 1, it will be your, we are putting t equal to plus 1. So it's e to the power is. We are putting t equal to minus 1. So it's e to the power minus is divided by I into s. Ashish, e to the power I theta is what? Ashish, e to the power I theta. What's the value of e to the power I theta? E to the power I theta. Gopal, e to the power I theta.
Cos theta plus I sin theta.
Cos theta plus I sin theta. And what is e to the power minus I theta, Gopal?
cos theta minus I sin theta.
Simply I has to be replaced by minus I. So it's
Minus.
cos theta plus I sin theta and cos theta minus I sin theta. Okay. So e to the power is minus e to the power minus is. So e to the power I theta minus e to the power minus I theta. That will be what? We are subtracting the second one from the first one. What will be the result if you subtract the second one from the first one?
2i sin theta.
Cos will cancel out and we will be left with 2i sin theta. So this is your 2i sin s, not theta, 2i sin s divided by is there. I cancels out. It is your 2 sin s by s. 2 sin s by s. This is the required Fourier transform. Therefore, the original function was ft was 1 for mod t less equal to 1. এটা একদম মাথায় রাখবে আর যেন এটা বলতে না হয় হ্যাঁ mod t less equal to 1 means -1 less equal to t less equal to 1. The value is 1 and 0 for mod t greater than 1. That was a function and its Fourier transform is coming out to be 2 sin s by s. This is the Fourier transform. That is the first part. 5 marks the question. Find the Fourier transform of this.
ম্যাম আগেরটা একটুখানি দেখান, আগের পেজটা একটুখানি দেখান, নিচের দিকটা লেখা হয়নি।
ঠিক আছে, e to the power ist integration করলে তুমিই তো বললে e to the power ist by is between -1 and +1. Now we are putting t equal to 1 একবার. Next we are putting t equal to -1. So it's e to the power is minus e to the power minus is by is. Now we know that e to the power, ঠিক আছে, e to the power I theta মানে cos theta plus I sin theta. E to the power minus I theta is cos theta minus I sin theta. So if we subtract e to the power minus I theta from e to the power I theta, cos part will cancel out and we will be left with sin part. Along with that, we'll have 2i. So it is your 2i sin theta. So 2i sin s by is, I cancels out. It is 2 sin s by s. Done it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So originally the function was f equal to 1 for mod t less equal to 1 and 0 for mod t greater than 1. And its Fourier transform is coming out to be 2 sin s by s. Disha class korche na keno go? Disha class korche na keno? আরো অনেকেই নেই কেন? অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স এত কম কেন? সুরজিৎ ক্লাস করছে না।
দিশার শরীর ভালো নেই, জ্বর হয়েছে।
কি?
দিশার শরীর ভালো নেই, জ্বর হয়েছে।
ও আচ্ছা 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 ঠিক আছে। নেহা আছো? নেহাকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না কেন? নেহা আছো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম আছি
হ্যাঁ
তো।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে চলো। আচ্ছা, so the function is 1 for mod t less equal to 1 and 0 for mod t greater than 1 and its Fourier transform is coming out to be 2 sin s by s. Now for the next part. Next part was what? Find first, the question was find the Fourier transform of this function and hence find integration 0 to infinity sin x by x dx. Hence find this. That was the question. For this second part, we have to apply the Fourier inversion formula. So let us write down the inversion formula. Inversion formula is what? Inversion formula will be your Fourier inversion capital F of s is given by 1 by 2 pi integration minus infinity to plus infinity capital F of s multiplied by e to the power minus ist ds. That is your Fourier inversion formula. Fourier inversion, capital F of s is 1 by 2 pi, integration minus infinity to plus infinity fs into e to the power minus ist ds. That is your small ft. This is our Fourier inversion formula. Now, fs is what? Fs is 2 sin s by s. So, 1 by 2 pi integration minus infinity to plus infinity fs. Fs is this. 2 sin s divided by s multiplied by e to the power minus ist. Integration is with respect to s, and that is equal to f of t. This is what we get using Fourier inversion formula. That means minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s e to the power minus ist ds. That is equal to, we are taking that pi to the right hand side. So pi into f of t. Now look at the question. Look at the thing which we need to find out. Look at this. We need to find 0 to infinity. 0 to infinity, that we will be doing afterwards. Sin x by x dx. Integration 0 to infinity. For the time being, suppose we have to find minus infinity to plus infinity. Don't bother with this 0 now. For the time being, suppose we have to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin x by x dx. We have to find this integration. Here we are having minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s e to the power minus ist ds. s টা নিয়ে কোনো মাথা ব্যথা নেই। s এর জায়গায় আমি যা খুশি বসাতে পারি। আমার তো ইন্টিগ্রেশন হচ্ছে উইথ রেসপেক্ট টু s। আমি s এর জায়গায় x ও বসাতে পারি, মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি টু প্লাস ইনফিনিটি sin x by x e to the power minus ixt dx ও বসাতে পারি, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই। Because this is definite integral. We are after integration, we are integrating with respect to s, and we are putting the limits from minus infinity to plus infinity. So s is a dummy variable. ওর জায়গায় আমি যা কিছু বসাতে পারি। আমি s এর জায়গায় x বসালাম, তাতে অসুবিধা নেই। বাট we need to find this sin x by x, যেখানে এখানে একটা এক্সট্রা টার্ম বসে আছে e to the power minus ixt। কিভাবে বের করবো বলতো sin x by x integration? How to find integration minus infinity to plus infinity sin x by x dx from this expression? How to find this?
মানে সাইন এক্স কে ওই ই টু দি পাওয়ার আইএসএ ফর্মুলা নিয়ে এসে
না, আমি অত খাটবো কেন? দাঁড়াও না, একটা জিনিস দেখো। আমার এই অবধি ঠিক আছে তো? এই স্টেপটা যে লিখলাম, এই স্টেপটা বোঝা গেছে? মৌলিস তো? মৌলিস বলছিলে তো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা দেখো, এই স্টেপটা কি বোঝা গেছে? আমি যে এস কে সরিয়ে এক্স লিখেছি, এটা বোঝা গেছে
হ্যাঁ
তো?
ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, এস এর জায়গায় জাস্ট এক্স লিখে দিয়েছি, আর কিছু না। এবার দেখো তাহলে আমার হাতে কি আছে? we are having the expression for minus infinity to infinity sin x by x into e to the power minus ixt dx. This expression we have in our hand. Minus infinity to plus infinity integration sin x by x into e to the power minus ixt dx. This expression we have in our hand. Whereas we need to find zero bhule jao. We need to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin x by x. This part won't be there. This portion, that means this e to the power portion, this e to the power portion won't be there. That means we need to get rid of this particular portion. How can you get rid of this portion?
ম্যাম
How
ওটা
can
কি
you
ই
get
টু
rid
দি
of? হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
2.0
কি বলছো?
ম্যাম ওটা কি ই টু দি পাওয়ার মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি ইকুয়াল টু 0 এরকম ভাবে কিছু করতে হবে?
না, আরেকটু। अभिषेक,
यस मैम।
कैसे मिलेगा यहाँ से? We need to find, देखो मैं क्या पूछ रही हूँ, देखो we have in our hand minus infinity to plus infinity sin x by x into e to the power minus ixt dx. This result we have in our hand because originally the expression ft was there. The question was ft equal to this and this. Therefore, original expression for ft is in our hand, And we have seen that minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s e to the power minus ist ds is equal to pi into ft. Ft is a known function. So if we multiply ft with pi, we get this result, minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s e to the power minus ist ds. Now we need to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s ds.
मैम
बोलो
इसको
फिर।
ब्रेक करेंगे लिमिट को।
नहीं, वो तो स्पंदन ने भी बोला ব্রেক नहीं करेंगे।
ম্যাম ওখানে যদি টি এর জায়গায় 0 করে দিই তাহলে e টু দি
ভীষণ
পাওয়ার
ভালো,
0 মানে
ভেরি
তো
গুড
1
নেহা,
হয়ে
ভেরি গুড,
যাবে।
ভেরি গুড, একদম ঠিক বলেছে নেহা। দেখো, simply we need to get rid of this term. This e part should not be there. The question is simply we have to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin x by x dx, so that e portion won't be there. E portion won't be there means what? E portion will be 1. E to the power something equal to 1 যদি হয়, that something must be equal to 0, তাই তো? এই জিনিসটাকে আমাকে সরাতে হবে, এই e পোরশনটাকে we need to get rid of this e term, this exponential portion. Exponential পোরশনটাকে সরিয়ে ফেলা মানে কি? এটা 1 হবে। সরিয়ে ফেলা মানে obviously 0 হলে হবে না। This portion must be equal to 1. এটা 1 তখনই হবে if this is just এটা 1 তখনই হবে e to the power this should be equal to 1. এটা 1 হওয়া মানে কি? The power should be equal to 0, then only this result is 1. I তো আমি কিছু করতে পারি না, i এর ভ্যালু আমি জানি, i কে কিছু করা যায় না। X, the integration is with respect to x. X is the variable here, so we cannot change x, we cannot touch x, but t is in our hand, because this expression is, আরেকবার লিখি তাহলে বুঝতে সুবিধা হবে। This expression is Fourier inversion of capital F of s is equal to 1 by 2 pi minus infinity to plus infinity f is the 1 by 2 pi capital F is e to the power minus ist ds, and that is equal to f of t. That means 1 by 2 pi minus infinity to plus infinity, capital F s was 2 sin s divided by s multiplied by e to the power minus ist ds. This is equal to ft. This is valid for all t. This is true for all t between minus infinity and plus infinity. So if we cancel out these two, we get minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s e to the power minus ist ds, that is equal to pi into f of t for all real values of t. Now this is true for all real values of t. So here, if we put t equal to 0, then also the result must be valid, because this is true for all real values of t, whether it's positive or whether it's negative. It has to be a real number. Then this result is true. And ft is given to us. Original question was ft equal to this. So ft, the function ft is provided. So this result is true for every possible values of t. We need to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s ds. We need to find this. That means we need to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s multiplied by 1 ds. That means we need to find minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s into 1 money e to the power 0 ds. E to the power 0. E to the power expression was minus ist. Integration was with respect to s. তাহলে s কে আমি সরাতে পারছি না। I তো আমি জানি i square is minus 1, i কে আমি হাত দিতে পারি না। Only thing which is in our hand, that is our t. So we can put t equal to 0 and get this result. বোঝা যাচ্ছে কি বলছি? বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, so that means
ম্যাম আগের পেজটা একবার দেখান।
হ্যাঁ, minus
ম্যাম
infinity to, হ্যাঁ বল।
বলছি ম্যাম টিটাকে কেন 0 নিচ্ছে এটা একটু বুঝতে পারছি না।
না না, ই কে 0 নিচ্ছি না,
টিটাকে মানে কেন ওখানে
টিটাকে।
0টা বসাচ্ছি।
আমাকে কি বের করতে হবে দেখো, আবার দেখাই। দাঁড়াও। The original function was ft equal to 1 for mod t less equal to 1 and 0 otherwise. And its Fourier transform, we have got that the Fourier transform is 2 sin s by s. Now, if we take the inversion formula, we have Fourier inversion of capital F of s is given by 1 by 2 pi minus infinity to plus infinity fs into e to the power minus ist ds, and that is equal to ft. This is for all possible values of t. Mane, if we put t equal to, for all possible values of t, let us start with t equal to say -1. We are putting t equal to -1. তার মানে minus infinity to plus infinity capital Fs into e to the power, we have put t equal to -1. So e to the power is ds. That will be equal to 2 pi into f of -1. Let us put t equal to 0. Then minus infinity to plus infinity fs e to the power 0 is 1. Fs ds equal to 2 pi into f of 0. T equal to 1. Minus infinity plus infinity fs e to the power is ds equal to 2 pi into f of 1. এইভাবে আমরা লিখতে পারি। ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
ঠিক আছে তো পরমজিৎ? এবারে
হুম,
কোয়েশ্চেনে
হ্যাঁ,
আমার
এবার
যেটা চেয়েছে সেইটাতে যাব আমি। হ্যাঁ, কোয়েশ্চেনে কি চেয়েছে? কোয়েশ্চেনে বের করতে বলেছে আমাকে ফাইন্ড মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি, জিরো
sin
চেয়েছে,
আছে।
জিরো পরে যাচ্ছি আমি। ফাইন্ড মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি টু প্লাস ইনফিনিটি সাইন এস বাই এস ডিএস। সেটা আমি তাহলে কিভাবে পাবো? আমি দেখলাম মাইনাস ইনফিনিটি টু প্লাস ইনফিনিটি সাইন এস বাই এস into e to the power minus ist ds, that is equal to pi into f of t. So if we put t equal to 0 here, we get minus infinity to plus infinity sin s by s into e to the power 0 is 1. So ds equal to, this is equal to pi into, we have put t equal to 0, pi into f of 0. Now f0 is what? For t equal to 0, the functional value was 1. So this is equal to pi. That means minus infinity to plus infinity sine x by x dx equal to pi. Now see, sine x is odd. Sine x is odd function. 1 by x, that is also odd function, isn't it? X is odd function, so obviously 1 by x is also odd, isn't it?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম,
Sin x odd, 1 by x is also odd. Therefore, their product will be, product is
Even.
even.
Ev-
Even. Odd into odd is
Even.
always even function. So product is an even function. Therefore, minus infinity to plus infinity even function, integration is equal to pi. That means this can be written as 2 into 0 to infinity sine x by x dx, that is equal to pi, which means, therefore, we have so we have 0 to infinity sine x by x dx equal to pi by 2. ঠিক আছে? বোঝা গেছে?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম,
ওকে ওকে, একটা অঙ্ক করতে আমার এতক্ষণ লাগলো। ফুরিয়ার ট্রান্সফর্ম কিন্তু অঙ্ক বড় না, হ্যাঁ, সিরিজের অঙ্ক বড় হয়, ট্রান্সফর্ম বড় হয় না। এটা অনলাইন তো বারবার আমাকে ফিরে ফিরে গিয়ে দেখাতে হচ্ছে বলে এরকম হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, এই অঙ্কগুলো বড় হয় না, এটা নিয়ে চিন্তা করো না। এই অঙ্কগুলো ছোটই, বড় না।
ম্যাম আগেরটা একবার দেখান।
আবার বলো, বলো বলো।
ম্যাম হয়ে গেছে।
ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ, আমার এতক্ষণ লাগলো একটা অঙ্ক করতে, কিন্তু ফুরিয়ার ট্রান্সফর্মের অঙ্ক বড় নয়, ছোট। Next is our change of scale property. তারপর অঙ্কতে আবার যাব, অঙ্ক করব আবার। Change of scale property. Change of scale property. Change of scale property is what? Fourier transform of f of at, where a is a constant quantity, that is equal to 1 by a into capital F s by a, where fs is Fourier transform of small ft. First, let us prove it. এগুলো question থাকে এরকম করে. Show that Fourier transform of f of at equal to 1 by a f of s by a. Hence, find the Fourier transform of this, or directly state and prove the change of scale property for Fourier transform, and applying this, find the Fourier transform of this. Okay? দু লাইনে proof কিন্তু দেখতে হবে এগুলো। ঠিক আছে? State and prove change of scale property for Fourier transform. Hence, find the Fourier transform of this. এই ফর্মে question থাকে। Let us prove it. খুব সোজা, কোনো প্রবলেম হবে না বুঝতে। দেখো, Fourier transform of small f at. I'm proving it. Fourier transform of small f at. That is equal to what? Minus infinity to plus infinity. Now the function is, instead of ft, it is f of at. So f of at multiplied by e to the power ist dt. Everything else remains the same. Only t has been replaced by at. Now for this integration,
ম্যাম
let
আচ্ছা
us...
ওখানে আইএসটি টার জায়গায় তাহলে আইএসএটি হবে না কেন?
না 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 না, একদম না। ft এর জায়গায় f80 হচ্ছে। দেখো, আমি তো
ও
বলিনি যে
আচ্ছা
আমি
আচ্ছা
t
আচ্ছা
চেঞ্জ করছি,
বুঝেছি
আমি
বুঝেছি।
বলিনি t চেঞ্জ করেছি। হ্যাঁ, আমি বলেছি ফাংশন অফ
হ্যাঁ
t
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম
যেটা ছিল
বুঝেছি।
এটা ফাংশন অফ 80। ঠিক আছে? আচ্ছা, so
হ্যাঁ
now
ম্যাম।
let us put, for proving, let us put 80 equal to z. If 80 is your z, t is your z by a, and dt will be dz divided by a. So when a is, dt is your dz by a. Now when t is tending to us minus infinity, obviously at will also tend to us minus infinity. When z is your minus infinity. If t is plus infinity, z is again plus infinity. So f of at means f of z, e to the power ist, that is is, and t is your z by a, and dt is your dz by a. So this is equal to what? Minus infinity to plus infinity, f of z, 1 by a. Let us take this 1 by a out. 1 by a minus infinity to plus infinity fz into e to the power. Now see, it is is z by a. We can write it as I into s by a z dz. লিখতে পারি তো? কিছু চেঞ্জ করিনি। Just s into z by a ছিল, ওটাকে আমি s by a into z করে লিখেছি। ঠিক আছে তো? I have written it as s by a into z. Now, can't we write it as 1 by a into capital F s by a? See, what is your fs? What was your fs? Fs is what? Fs means, fs is what? Fs is minus infinity to plus infinity ft into e to the power ist dt. This is your fs. মানে ft সঙ্গে e এর পাওয়ারে it, তার সাথে যে থাকছে f এর পরে ব্র্যাকেটে সেটা আসছে। হ্যাঁ, because we are integrating with respect to t and putting the limits from minus infinity to plus infinity. So entire thing becomes a function of s only. And this is your f of s. So minus infinity to plus infinity ft into e to the power ist dt. E to the power ist dt, that is your fs. ft e to the power it, it এর সঙ্গে যে থাকলো সে এলো f এর পাশে ব্র্যাকেটে। Now see, here we are having minus infinity to plus infinity fz e to the power I into z dz, s এর জায়গায় এসেছে আমার s by a. So if this is your fs, minus infinity plus infinity ft e to the power it into s dt, if this is denoted by fs, so obviously minus infinity to plus infinity fz, এটাকে t ও ভাবতে পারো, ft into e to the power I s by a t dt. That will be your f of s by a. বোঝা গেছে এই জায়গাটা?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা। So
আরেকবার বলুন।
আরেকবার কে বলছো গো? কে বললে?
ম্যাম আমি।
সায়ক, আচ্ছা। Fourier transform of f of at.
একবার বলে দিন
হ্যাঁ, কি বলছো?
ম্যাম, লাস্ট লাইনটা একবার বলে দিন।
আমি আবার দেখাচ্ছি। Fourier transform of f of at. This is minus infinity to plus infinity. F at into e to the power ist dt. Just we are using the definition. Now, since this at is there, let us put at equal to v. Let us substitute v for at. That means t is your v by a and dt will be 1 by a into dv. So now we are changing t into v. When t is minus infinity, v is minus infinity. When t is infinity, v is infinity. A for v e to the power is. T is your v by a into dt is your dv by a. Let us take 1 by a out. This is your minus infinity to plus infinity av e to the power I v into s by a dv. Now let us compare these two lines. Let us compare these two lines. Look at this one. Oh, likhini. Let us compare this one with capital F is equal to original definition minus infinity to plus infinity ft into e to the power ist dt, or let us write it as v. Instead of t, let us write it as v. F of v e to the power isv dv. f v এর সঙ্গে e এর পাওয়ারে isv থাকলে আমি ওটাকে বলছি f of s. f v যেমন আছে dv আছে, উপরে i আছে, v আছে, সঙ্গে আছে s. এই s আছে, এটা f এর পাশে ব্র্যাকেট এলো। এখন এখানে আমার কি হচ্ছে, এফ ভি আছে, ডিভি আছে, ই টু দি পাওয়ার আই আছে, ভি আছে। Instead of s, we are having s by a. If minus infinity to plus infinity f v to the power I s v dv is your f of s, then obviously minus infinity to plus infinity f v e to the power I v into s by a dv, obviously that has to be f of s by a. সায়ক বোঝা গেছে? ঠিক আছে সায়ক?
Yes, ma'am.
আচ্ছা, সঙ্গে 1 by a আছে। So this is called change of scale property. Fourier transform of f of at is 1 by a into capital F s by a, where capital Fs is Fourier transform of small ft. Now with the help of this, let us find Fourier transform of e to the power minus 8t square and e to the power minus 9 by 2t square. এই অঙ্কগুলোর জন্য আমার ওই চার্ট মনে করতে হবে। Let us find Fourier transform of, with the help of change of scale property, let us find Fourier transform of e to the power minus 8t square and e to the power minus 9 by 2t square. যেহেতু e to the power minus t square আছে, এবার আমাকে মনে করে বলো what was the Fourier transform of e to the power minus t square by 2? What was the Fourier transform of e to the power minus t square by 2?
root 2 pi e to the power minus a square by 2.
হ্যাঁ, সঙ্গে root 2 pi থাকে। For e to the power minus t square by 2, the Fourier transform is root 2 pi into e to the power minus a square by 2. Let us write it as, so if this is your f of t, this is your capital F of s. Huh? If this is your ft, this is your capital Fs. E to the power minus t square by 2. Fourier transform is root 2 pi into e to the power minus a square by 2. This is your Fourier transform. Now, what is our change of scale property? Change of scale property is Fourier transform of f of a into t. That is equal to 1 by a, capital F, s by a, where capital Fs is Fourier transform of small f t. This is your change of scale property. With the help of this change of scale property, we are going to find the Fourier transform of this function and this function. Now for the first one, e to the power minus 8t square. বলো তো এটাকে কিভাবে লিখবো আগে? We know the Fourier transform of minus t square by 2. So how will you write it? This can be written as
minus 16 t square by
minus
2.
16t square by 2. This can be written as minus 16t square by 2. Minus 16t square, minus টাকে ছেড়ে দাও। এটা কতর হোল স্কয়ার? 4t whole square by 2.
4t.
This is e to the power minus 4t whole square by 2. তার মানে for the first one we have to find Fourier transform of f of 4t. জিনিসটা বোঝা গেছে কিনা দেখো তো, বোঝা যাচ্ছে কিনা দেখো। We know the Fourier transform of e to the power minus t square by 2 and you have to remember it. হ্যাঁ, you won't get any time for deriving it. ঠিক আছে, যদি বা টাইম থাকে আমরা বেকার খাটবো কেন? We have to remember it. E to the power minus t square by 2, that is the standard function and its Fourier transform is given by, আরেকবার জয়েন হবে, হ্যাঁ লিভ হয়ে গিয়ে আরেকবার জয়েন হবে 5-10 মিনিটের জন্য। Its Fourier transform is given by root 2 pi into e to the power minus t square by 2. এক কাজ করো না বাবা, একবার বেরিয়ে গিয়ে জয়েন হও। হ্যাঁ, we are having less than 1 minute left, একবার বেরিয়ে গিয়ে জয়েন হও। একবার বেরিয়ে গিয়ে জয়েন হও।